This is Let Them Talk on Poultry, so we are live. We're going to be putting up the phone number in a minute. My guest, Spatz Donovan, who is we had this little conversation beforehand, and you're going to love this show. This is a great show. This is one of our classic shows. Thank you, Spatz, for coming on. You were already on earlier the conversation, right? And it was great, right? So we just made this happen really quickly, so it's cool.
I am so excited to be here. You have a dynamic personality. I love your charm, your character. You've got pizzazz. You got chutzpah.
Thank you.
You got it all.
You. Wait a second. We got two of us here, and we're sharing the stage, and we're having a great time. We're going to be greater even than some of our parts.
And talking, oh my God, it's like diarrhea of the lower lip. It just keeps running, It's
So, Spatz, tell me, it's Spatz Donovan. Tell me something about yourself. We were talking, but tell you have quite a history. First of all, we have things in common. Wisconsin.
Yes.
New York.
Yes.
And what was the other?
Florida.
Well,
Europe and Florida, California.
Right. That's where my kids lived for a long time, so it's interesting.
We can figure it out. I always say I'm apple, cheese, and crackers. And I was born in Racine, Wisconsin, where they started the first form of entertainment in America, the circus, right?
Really?
Yeah. Look at this clown. So the bottom line is I lived there and I went to Horlick High School. I was very proud to say I was a Horlicker. And so I went to high school. And I went to Oshkosh, New Yorker and Vaudeville.
Right.
All the vaudevillians used to say, oh, you played from here to Oshkosh, meaning from here to no man's land, like Timbuktu. Well, that's where I went to school in Oshkosh and spent a little bit of time in Madison, where you came from. And so, I'm a Green Bay Packer backer.
Of course, you got to be a Packer backer.
Cheesehead, Badger, all that sort of thing. Yeah. So I love Wisconsin. Yeah, and Wisconsin has its own definite personality. I mean, you get like Belushi and Bill Murray and Midwestern kind of people that come from that area. And then New York, I had a family that lived here on Brownstone in the East Village on 11th Street across from St. Mark's.
Okay, there you go.
So I spent my summers here in the village. Right. So a little bit of Midwest, a little bit of the East Coast.
It's a great combination because you have that humanity of the Midwest and the sharp wit of the East Coaster,
Yeah, Paul. Right. It's great. And then Florida, I ended up in Florida, and for some reason I ended up taking a job down there as a song and dance man at an entertainment attraction called Church Street Station, home of Rosie O'Grady's Good Time Dixieland Jazz Emporium, which was a two-whole city block entertainment complex that was comprised of cobblestone streets and gas-lit lamps and antique cars and Red Hot Mamas, and Can Girls, and Razzmatazz, and yes sir, and the band would slide down a fire pole, and it would be like a Mickey Finn kind of thing, and they would Razzmatazz, high energy, good time music, and my act was kind of like a Danny Kaye, Sammy Davis Jr., Gene Kelly, kind of song and dance entertainer that would tell stories and do pantomime and do impressions, and like all the great legends of that genre, like W.C. Fields and Jack Benny and Jerry Lewis and Groucho Marx and Jimmy Durante. I might have find, which was he was so known for Razzmatazz, and Jimmy Durante. Oh God, when you talk
it's
about
like a mad world. You just went through the whole story,
exactly.
The whole story cast, and Sid Caesar, of course, who's from my hometown of Yonkers, New York.
Oh, I opened for him, yes, in Melbourne.
Just passed away,
Yeah, Sid was a master, and he had the greatest writing team. And your shows was the seed of SNL. It was the first show on television that really had sketch comedy with Howie Morris and Carl Reiner, and of course Imogen Coca, she was wonderful. She was brilliant. She was like Gilda Radner of her time. And the writers they had, oh my God, you had Neil Simon, right?
Writing comedy.
And Woody Allen, and Mel Brooks, the greatest writing staff. What's his name? The guy who wrote MASH. Help me out. Do you know?
Yes, I do know.
He was on that staff.
Yeah.
And Sid Caesar, Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks, Woody Allen, Neil Simon.
Agent 87.
Larry Gelbart.
Yeah, right.
That was Larry Gelbart.
Oh,
my God, he wrote MASH. And they were all in the room together, and the wildness of Sid Caesar.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. what was the movie he did? Where they did Neil Simon wrote Laughter on the 34th Floor or something like that. It was all about that time, that writing staff when they wrote the Sid Caesar show, your show of shows. Right. And then the other one with Peter O'Toole, where he was supposed to appear on Sid Caesar's show as like Errol Flynn. Oh, right. What was the name of that? Something about something next year or something. It was great. I loved Peter O'Toole. My favorite year.
My favorite year.
My favorite year.
We have the voice of God has spoken.
Yes.
Right?
This is George Burns. Some people call me God.
Him and his wife.
Gracie. George.
I hear she was really the brains of the operation.
Oh, they were brilliant together. I had the good fortune of opening for George Burns in Florida, and I was so excited, because I come from a show business New York family. My great grandparents were vaudevillians. They knew Eddie Foy and George M. Cohan, Irish Jig and Reel, song and dance men, and they did comedic, eccentric.
Sounds like Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, right. No, nothing like that. But anyhow, George Burns walks in. And he's smoking his cigar, and we had heard, my girlfriend and I, we had heard that George loves ketchup. He puts ketchup on everything he eats.
We have a phone call, by the way.
Yeah,
we actually do. Want to take it? We'll give
it a shot. Sure.
Go ahead. We're with you. You're on the air.
Hello.
Turn down your TV and don't listen to the TV. Listen to the phone. There's a delay.
Hello. This is Shannon Taylor.
Hey, Shannon.
I'm the biggest fan of both of you. And it's great to see Spatz back again. I just wanted to know, what is the contribution of Irish music and Irish comedy to all the entertainment that we have enjoyed over the last century?
Well, the Irish, came from down and out, downtrodden, just like the Jews and a lot of other races, such as the Asians and the blacks, and so they had to lift themselves up with through song and comedy. They were always oppressed, for hundreds and hundreds of years, and so it's the same thing that other races have gone through, and so there were different sections of Ireland that emphasized, some were storytellers, some were like humorists, and some were players like fiddles, and then some were joke tellers.
Well, how is it that from a small country that has been so oppressed, it's really under boot heels of imperialism, British imperialism, for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yes, sir.
Its leaders humiliated, executed, war after war. I mean, how do they keep a sense of humor under that?
Whiskey.
I was going to say, well, how about Jewish people? How do they do it? I mean, like, oppressed people often have this energy of and love of life that almost comes from living every moment.
Oh, shut up, gosh, Bigora. I will catch a bit of Lucky Charms, All it takes is a wee bit of Guinness, or some Guinness Harp, or some good old Irish whiskey,
That's right. It's Bing Crosby. What he said there, Barry Fitzgerald.
Oh, Bing, would you be singing me that grand old Irish love song now?
I don't mind if I do. To-ra-lu-ra-lu-ra.
Oh, yes.
To-ra-lu-ra-lu-ra. How about Gene Kelly?
You were meant for me. I was meant for you. I'm content the angels must have sent you, and they made you just for me.
And he was looking up her dress, doing that scene and Singing in the Rain, and Debbie Reynolds is going, and of course, and then all the other great American Irish entertainers. There was the Duke, Marion David's.
I can't think of him as Irish, but he was
Walter Brennan.
My God.
Walter Brennan.
He was Irish. And Jackie Gleason.
That's right, Norton. Boy, you're gonna get jaws. Pow, zoom, right to the moon.
Carney. That's the Irish one. Yeah, jeez, what a grouch. I've been working down here in the New York sewer there, and I've had it up to here,
Norton, you're gonna get jaws. Pow!
Congratulations. That was incredible. He was my favorite, Art Carney, of all those. And I loved them all. And Art Carney, I thought, was the greatest thing. But they're all great. Tell me, who was...
The Honeymooners, that's so New York.
Totally New York. I lived for that show.
If Lucille Ball was the queen of television comedy,
right,
Jackie Gleason had to be the king, wasn't he?
And leave it to Lucille Ball to be the character she was,
yes,
and an incredible businesswoman,
yes,
who had the foresight to see Star Trek
yes,
would be a great show.
Oh, absolutely!
She's like a genius. It's like anybody who thinks she's like the three-dimensional, four-dimensional person.
Yes, and another thing, we lost another great female recently. We talked about Sid Caesar.
Yep.
Shirley Temple.
Oh yeah. You know her? Did you work with her?
My mom was friends with her. Can I tell you the story?
You sure do.
Oh, I like you. Yeah, I'm not gay, but I think I love you. Gleason would say, "You're a nice man." And my mom would write letters to Judy Garland, and Judy never wrote back. But when Judy died, we went to Judy's funeral. Because, my mom collected a scrapbook as a child of Judy's work. And so we collected all of Judy's records and stuff. So my mom started writing to Shirley, and Shirley wrote back to my mom. And little by little, they became friends because my mom was resilient. She kept writing and writing. And then, later on, Shirley became an ambassador to Ghana and to the Czechoslovakia.
Sure.
And she was in Washington. My mom would come and visit her. And sometimes, she kept it very secret because Shirley never liked to talk about old Hollywood or anything like that.
She seems to have been burned by it a little bit. She said that after it was done, I had no money. It was like I was so used,
On 2 occasions when I was growing up, I would listen on the phone. If my mother ever knew, she'd spank me, I'll tell you. But, Shirley Temple. She was just loved by everybody. The FDR said Shirley Temple brought us through the darkness of the Depression. Her and maybe Bing Crosby, because they came from happiness, and America needed that lift, because it was so heavy then, and she was just a bright, tiny little shining star, but a monster star. Right. And everything she did, tap dance, and she broke the thing, with the
mold,
the blacks coming into film. By with her and dancing with the
and
great.
It took a little child basically to show the way, right?
Bill Robinson, Bojangles. Remember those tap dancings? The Littlest Rebel and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, and you watch some of those things, and even children today, your children, my children, would see those, and they wouldn't even. They would just. Why? Because it's enchanting, and it has charisma, and it has heart. I think that's what. The old show business had heart. That's what so much is lacking in our society today, is heart. I like sentimental. I like heart, and I love kindness and love. My philosophy.
Wizard of Oz is one of my favorites.
Is it? Oh my God! Shirley Temple.
It reflects. It's like hidden in there is the political message that's in the Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes.
And it brings it to America like in a way that's acceptable to Americans who don't like to have politics shoved in their face.
And MGM wanted Shirley Temple, and Fox wouldn't let her go. So they got Judy.
Right.
And they got 3 great vaudevillians. They had Ray Bolger, the Scarecrow, and Jack Haley, and Bert Lahr.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I've seen it about 20 million times. But tell me something.
I can do the Wizard of Oz in 1 minute.
All right.
Okay?
We got it.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow, 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 follow. We represent the lollipop guild, the lollipop guild.
I could while away the hours conferring with this flowers, 'cause there's nothing. Somebody hold my tail. Put him up. I'm the king of the forest. Why bust my buttons? Ooh, why that's a horse of a different color. Ooh, well, come on in. Ooh, I am the great and powerful wizard. And there's no place like home. Shh.
I'm melting! I'm melting!
Thank you. That was great. The Wizard of Oz in 1 minute. I didn't think it could be done. It's a 3-hour movie. He did it in 1 minute. Wow. Now, you mentioned earlier, I mean, one of the greats, Bob Hope. You knew Bob Hope?
Oh, yes. And how that came about.
And the story you told me earlier about how you wanted to have a Bob Hope amusement park?
Yes.
With a slide like his nose? That's great. A water slide?
Absolutely. I'll tell you very quickly in a nutshell. You know, I loved all the great comedians like Abbott and Costello and the Three Stooges and the Marx Brothers. But Bob Hope and Bing Crosby I really liked a lot because they were, unlike Martin and Lewis and some of the rest, you could identify with them because they were more real. Mm-hmm. It was like two buddies hitchhiking around the world. And I loved them so much that after college, I ended up hitchhiking all around Europe, Africa, the Middle East.
Oh, rode to Bali, rode to this, rode to that, rode to Morocco.
I had a buddy, we became Spatz and Buckwheat. And we did like busking all around the world to Nepal, Afghanistan, Tibet, India, and all over, just song and dance everywhere we went, and so this was like, and doing all the Hope and Crosby routines, busking in London, in Piccadilly, to Spanish Steps in Rome, to all over the place. And so anyhow, when I got to Rosie O'Grady's, I befriended this girl that was dating Bob Hope, or that knew him, and she had traveled with him, and she brought him into the room one night. And that was it.
Oh, really?
That was it. Bob Hope. After the show, I mean, I was dripping when I came off the stage. I was like, I found out he was. My wife was a can-can girl, and she ended up waiting on him. And I gave him a tour around the place. And the first thing he said to me when he says, Spatz, he says, why don't you go take a shower? But I took him, there was a confessional booth in the restaurant, Lily Marlene's on the complex. And he goes in, and it was like a phone booth. And so he gets in, he automatically does shtick. He's making a phone call to God. But he's doing it like hello, mama, like Georgie Jessel. And it was hilarious. And Bing had injured himself. He had fallen off a stage in Pasadena, I think the Hollywood Bowl, and hurt himself, and he was recovering in Mexico. And I said, to Bob, is Bing going to be okay? And Bob says to me, oh, yeah, Spatz, he'll be okay because he bounced a few times on his wallet. And then I like you said, I designed this theme park for him because it was called Bob Hope's Global Fair.
Where was it supposed to be? Where were we going to build it?
Well, it was going to be in Daytona Beach, and we had the city fathers all ready to do it there. And then it got too complex. And then Bob had acreage outside of Buena Vista outside Disney property, off the I-94 corridor there, and it's a long story.
It got complicated. Real estate does that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that. But when I opened up the design of the blueprints, and he looked at it, and he had tears in his eyes. He was in his 90s, and he's looking at it, and I'm explaining the whole thing to him.
He made it like 105 or something, right? He was like 100.
He lied about his age by 2 years.
Oh, really?
I saw it on his driver's license. and he says, Spatz, he says, would you mind if I name something in the park? I said, you're Bob Hope. You're an icon. You're the 20th century, the greatest entertainer, all the presidents, anything, Bob, you name it. He says, I'd like to name the toilets throughout the entire theme park Going My Way.
And he's still funny, 95 years old. He's telling jokes like that. He's killing it. He's tearing the place up.
I used to come into his suite, on Buena Vista property, and I'd have this like Bob Hope nose, and I'd come in and go,
hi, this is Bob. I love Buena Vista Hope. And I just want to tell you, when I was 12, what a joy. Mom told me I was a boy. Kissed the girl when I was 10. Darned if I'm not ready again. After the dance, we parked in an alley. I wonder what became of Sally. I traveled around the world with a bevy of the world's most beautiful gals. And I do it all again for my country. No thanks for that memory. Oh, Bing? Yes, Bing is coming in with Dumbo ears coming in for a landing. Watch out, he's out back squeezing orange juice with his 3,000 kids.
Steady there, ski nose. What do you say there? what are they doing here? Filming some kind of horror party? No, Bing, I thought maybe I'd sing and dance and tell a few jokes for the folks. Steady, I'll thrash you with my Oscar. Yeah. They were so wonderful together.
And you know, he pioneered the whole USO thing going overseas, and you know, wearing flak jackets, getting shot at while he's entertaining the troops in the middle of the war and stuff like that. I mean, now people do that all the time.
Well, he didn't pioneer it, because during World War I there were others that did it, like Cohan.
Oh, he did.
And Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and Jolson and Cantor and a lot of others. But it was Hope that took it to another level, but then Martha Ray also was the female that went inside enemy lines and, you know, really put her life
in danger to
do it. And George Jessel was another one. But Hope, you know, he did the thing with, he was great with all the presidents. You know what Bob told me? He told me his idol was Will Rogers. And Will Rogers was the very first political comedian. And people don't realize that today because it goes so far back.
Right.
You know?
He was, and he told.
And so Bob fashioned his career after Will Rogers. So before Bill Maher and Johnny Carson and David Letterman and everything we got political today, the real birth, the seed, was Will Rogers. But he leaned towards the left and the right. He picked on both, you know, and so Bob Hope followed that in fashion that way, and so did Johnny Carson, and now they seem to like lean more to the left, and you know I look at it like, united we stand, divided we fall.
Well, you see now.
I love to love, I hate to hate. I'm a hippie, you know. So I think we should all get united and come together, brother.
Well, I think what happened, I agree with you, and that's a wonderful sentiment, and let's hope more people pick up on that sentiment. Right? You know, I was recently during the Iraq War, many of the more establishment, if you want to use that term, artists did not go to Iraq and did not go to Afghanistan, and there was this huge gap where the USO was saying we can't find anybody who wants to go to these places, and then in walked the Sarah Silvermans and the different, you know, more radical
Robin Williams,
Robin Williams, and who started to do that more. Sort of the people who were probably identified as anti-Vietnam came up in the period where they were against the Vietnam War, where they were critics of the Reagan administration and things like that in their youth, you know, were coming out and being the ones now to follow in the footsteps of Bob Hope and the rest of these folks, and to go to really dangerous areas far from, and you know, they're wealthy people, they don't have to do these things, right? They're doing, and some people decided, why should I go to Afghanistan? You can't even find a place to go to the bathroom, you know? And folks doing that who could, you know, didn't have to do that.
I went over during the Persian Gulf crisis, and I ended up in the Arab Emirates, and I did some USO things for the soldiers, the Navy, and the Army, and I also did some things with international children. I went into this water park, and I had like this big stage with a big like rock concert screen, and in front of the screen was a monster plastic dollhouse, like laughing where all the doors and windows would open, you know. And I gave the kid like a plastic baseball bat, and he was like Punch and Judy, hit me all over. So I had to be very visual because there were a lot of different languages. And then I had this magic bottle on stage. And I would take a sip out of the magic bottle, and the kids are screaming. There was a sea of them, French, English, Arab, Jewish, from all over the world. It was great, and Indians, and so I would go.
What's up, Doc?
And then I'd take another sip and go. Get that squawy wabbit. Oh, gosh darn ornery critters!
Oh, I thought I saw a pudding set. Oh, I did.
Suffering succotash! And then I'd go into Mickey Mouse, ho, 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 and Goofy. Oh boy, oh gosh, Mickey, and Donald. And then they're like, Popeye?
Doesn't Disney get mad at you? For doing all this? I mean, they track down people like with guys, like baseball bats who do stuff like you do.
I used to go, when I worked in Orlando, I worked at a place called Rosie O'Grady's, like I told you earlier. And they would use me as a subcontractor, as a voice artist. Nice. And I'd come in and I would do voices from time to time. Like, remember Alice in Wonderland? Like Jerry Colonna played the March Hare, and Ed Wynn, the great vaudevillian, played the Mad Hatter.
Happy million birthday to you. Oh, to me. Happy million birthday to you. Oh, to me. Just blow the candle out, my dear, and I'll make your wish come true. Oh, very million birthday to you. More tea. Oh, this is silly.
Yeah, stuff like that.
This iconic travels through the heart of American entertainment, right?
Yes.
You know, the post.
See, this is what happens to a Greenwich Village hippie, you know.
Yeah, right.
This is after all these years.
Well, this is the golden age.
It's
I mean,
the
this
journey.
does set it up for everybody. Everybody who comes after that is really just learning from that. And
They were the seeds. I do a show called The Legends of Laughter. And I felt, seriously, like America has so much to offer, and they have throughout the 20th century and prior to that in the arts, and we acknowledge our gospel and our blues and our jazz and our rock and roll. But how about our clowns? Because laughter's the best medicine. And our great film comedians and vaudevillians were the ones that like spawned. You know, they're the Van Goghs and the Picassos of you know. We should have that too. Yeah. So I did a show with a theatrical steamer trunk and a makeup table, and 26 characters in a 2-hour theatrical, and doing Will Rogers, Jack Benny, George Burns, and Gracie Allen and Rochester and Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, the Three Stooges, Abbott Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Red Skelton, Jackie Gleason, Art Carney, on and on, Danny Kaye. You know, and
I'm just glad you're mentioning all these names because we're going to put this on the internet and we want everybody to all the kids who watch, anybody who wasn't around when these guys were making their the world. They should look them up on Wikipedia, whatever.
Yeah, please.
Look them up and learn who all these people were.
Yes, because it's part of our history and part of our treasures.
Well, we're coming down to the last 30 seconds. Thank you so much, Spatz Donovan, for joining us on Let Them Talk. This was one heck of a show. We went through a tour of the golden age of American comedy from a real clown in the serious sense of the term.
And as Red Skelton would say,
Good night, Andy Quadre.